My interest in design started in high school. I was taking like a couple art classes, and all we had was Photoshop, and like I didn't know really anything about it, but my teacher just kind of showed me some of the ropes, and I was like, hey, this is fun, and just started kind of playing with it, and then all of a sudden that was just like all I did. Yeah, I came to school, and that's when I learned how to use everything else, and now I do it for fun, even if it's not like actually homework. It doesn't feel like homework to me. I love taking pictures, I paint, I draw, I use like the Adobe products and everything, and that's what a lot of my end products are. It's the mix of like drawing and then digital work and a lot of photography as well. If I'm working on a piece and then all of a sudden hours go by and I'm like, where'd the time go? And then you're looking at it for too long and you kind of get frustrated with it, and that's when I kind of take some time, go outside, you know, gives me some inspiration, just getting that like fresh air and just looking at the detail of all this natural world, and then you come back to the project with like, you know, fresh eyes. I consider myself an environmentalist. When it comes to design, I like to try to do it for like a cause and promote something, whether it's like an event or music or information about the environment and everything. You know, I like for it to have also a purpose. One time in sophomore year, one of my professors told us to try out this environmental contest to make a poster. It had to do with fossil fuels and pretty much promoting the action to stop using fossil fuels in the state of Massachusetts. I ended up winning first place. My practicum project is for my friend's band, Hours North. They have a new album coming out. Their music, it's kind of different. It's like a bunch of different genres in one, and that's what I like to do with, you know, my work, where I use a little bit of drawing, some painting, and then, you know, do some work digitally. I'm branding them, you know, making some posters, some flyers. I made a logo. We made a couple shirts that we printed. Lately I've been doing freelance work, and it gives me that opportunity to create things and promote other, you know, small like local businesses, whether it's like a smaller group or like music, other artists even, you know, just information that people should know. I'd like to work with a smaller group of people with, you know, the same passions that I have, like who share similar values and everything. You know, not like a big business that is just doing it for money. I don't know, I want to do something that we can kind of all share ideas, and then it'll benefit ourselves and benefit other people.
The first thing I remember drawing was these little characters. They were, I got these paint pens for my birthday, and I started drawing these like weird, bloody characters. My family always knew me as the artist, and you know, I kind of thought like I never had like a fallback other than drawing. And my family always told me that graphic design was a way to make money and be able to do art. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to pursue a career in graphic design. That way I get to do what I love and, you know, get paid. I do a lot of fine art. I do painting, mostly illustration. Lately I've been getting into a lot of printmaking and hand lettering of things. So that's more of a new passion that I'm starting to get into, and I'm trying to explore, and that will add to my graphic design field too. So for my practicum, I knew I wanted to do something like that because I was really interested in, you know, doing like 3-color prints and stuff like that, and just having a solid like art foundation with design. Originally I was going to do my own craft brewery, but then I got the project with Rusty. Rusty Von Enns is an entrepreneur from Southern California, and he's in a few different fields. Right now he's doing a couple projects where he's doing a brewery, and he's also doing like a sort of biker bar restaurant. So he asked me to do the signage for the restaurant and also the beer labels, which turns out to be great because I get to do the 3 beers with him, the limited edition prints, the hand-done labels, and I get to make a sign for him too. So I'm pretty excited about doing that. The project is a good fit for me because it allows me to expand on my own style and sort of do what I've been very interested in like this past like year. Whether it's like hand lettering and screen printing, and I get to do a much more hands-on approach with this biker sort of feel to it. So I get a vintage aesthetic, and I'm really looking forward to doing that. After graduation, I'm planning on maybe moving west and trying to, you know, establish myself as an artist and like a freelance designer, and maybe in the future try and build with that instead of trying to get like a desk job right away. What I'm gonna miss most about being in school is probably the culture, probably all the people, my friends, but I'm also looking forward to getting out there and starting to make a life for myself.
As early as I can remember, I've been drawing. Nothing really drew me to it. I was just like, ooh, I can do something. I can draw this circle. This is kind of fun. Like, even when I was little, my parents were like, oh, that's really good. I just kept going and kept drawing from there because it was fun. I loved computers, and I was really good at like math and science, but art was more fun than those things. So I was like, I'm gonna keep doing this because it's more challenging, and it's more fun for me to do because it's challenging. I didn't even know what graphic design was before I came to college, honestly. And then my cousin was like, you like computers and you can draw, do graphic design. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna sign up for graphic design. I get to play on a computer and I get to draw things. Why not? That's kind of what it was. It was like a best of both worlds. That's why I went with it. There's nothing else I really like as much as I like doing this. My practicum project is a voodoo clothing line that my brother and I sat down and like thought of. He wants to take it really far, and I'm just the design aspect of it. That's where I fit into it, and he wants me to do like the whole website, all of it. I already have t-shirts designed for it, banners, maybe business cards, some way to relate back to the clothing line. Like, hey, I'm the founder of this, or I'm the designer for this. A whole like business plan. The company's called Voodoo, and that came about because I was scrolling through the internet and I came across an article, and it was just random facts. It was, if you take the letter number combination X88B88 and put a line through it, that looks like voodoo reflected over a line. And I typed it out like different ways, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. I should probably do that for something. And then instantly I was like, oh, the clothing line we've been talking about for like 2 years. And I took that and ran, and that's where it came from. And I did a little bit of research into like what voodoo is. And coming from like a really religious family, it's kind of hard to like be sitting there looking through voodoo and stuff like that. But it's not so much so like I want it to be like mystical and like having to do with like magic and whatnot. I just want it to be like something cool. More so just like, oh, that's a fun whimsical take on voodoo. Now that my 4 years with Lasell are wrapping up, it's kind of sad to think about because I don't want to leave. I try to avoid the topic of graduating all the time, but it's coming. But I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I came here. Now I can honestly say I'm a graphic designer, and I actually learned a lot.
I started getting into art when I was in elementary school. It was always my favorite subject. When I took an art class and we did a butterfly project, I really grasped it and loved it, and I was never really able to take an art class after that. So when it came to college and choosing a major, I really just wanted to do art and really nothing else, and graphic design just seemed perfect. Besides graphic design, I have had years of experience playing sports. I've played soccer all my life, and then I've also run track, and I run track here at Lasell College. My practicum project's name is called Enliven, and Enliven is to bring excitement to something. So I wanted to bring excitement and make working out more interesting, because being active is such a big part of my life. So for my practicum project, I decided to create a workout guide for those who are trying to get into working out. This takes you through upper body workouts, lower body workouts, full body, cardio, stretching, and has examples of each type of workout. I took my own photography of some friends and created silhouettes of people doing different lifts, such as squatting, deadlifting, and overhead press. And with that, I put the Enliven logo, which is just kind of a bold typeface with a heart in the V. And I put those on top of the silhouette. And the heart is placed on where the heart is in the body. So the silhouettes and the logo combination also goes with a clothing brand that I've created, and I want to put those logos on t-shirts and just regular workout clothes in general to represent the company. Studying design here at Lasell College has opened up my eyes to the world in a sense, because I've ever since getting into design, you kind of see things differently. You appreciate the colors that you see just in a skyline or walking down the street. You also start to notice logos and everything on shops. So it's just kind of made the world more beautiful in a sense, because you really just start to appreciate the little things. I'm originally from Huntington Beach, California, and I moved here to Boston, Massachusetts to gain a new experience, and it's been a really, really great experience.
So I started doing graphic design in the 6th grade. I was taking a Photoshop class at my school at the time, and I decided I was going to basically download Photoshop on my own to experiment with it, see what I can make out of it, but I didn't really think I was going to take it on as a major someday. Not until after more years of actually working with the program and other people actually wanting me to produce stuff for them, I decided, maybe it'll be a good field for me. My practicum project is Team Exhibition, which is a site basically dedicated to helping new designers, artists, DJs, photographers, etc. promote their artwork, connect with other artists in the industry, and also be able to build that network where they'll be able to, get more clients. First, I had to make the logo for it. I made business cards, working on the t-shirt designs, hat designs. I'm making stickers, also to put on laptops, cars, fridge, whatever you choose, your phone. I want to be able to make phone cases also for people who want to be able to have phone cases with Team Exhibition on it. I personally feel there's a need for it because, for instance, I never really know other people out there that are doing the same thing that I am. Not until somewhere far down the line and I'm just finding out oh, this person was a photographer all along, and I found out through somebody else. So it's just being able to connect everybody together, and also a lot of people I feel just don't want to take the time out to actually put themselves out there and meet other people that can actually help them build and grow. It's kind of more of just everybody's off doing their own thing, kind of just they know that competition's out there, they have people that they're going against, but why not work together towards a higher goal instead of kind of being at odds with each other. What I like most about graphic design is being able to express creativity in just about any way you want, as dramatic as you want it to be. Good. You just have open creativity. There's no limit to it, nothing holding you back. Especially if you're producing work for yourself, there's not really anybody to tell you no. What I'm gonna miss about being in school is having other students around me, especially within my major, that, when I'm struggling with a design or some assignment, having those people around to kind of help push me and motivate me.
I probably first started getting interested in design and the arts in high school. Started taking a lot of art classes, and then when I came to college I was undeclared, but I knew I wanted to do something visual, creative, and found out that graphic design was the perfect fit. The kind of design that I'm drawn to is definitely layout design. Being the art director for the newspaper has to do with mostly layout and the pictures, different ads that we do, so kind of incorporating them into the newspaper and kind of being in charge of layout design of the entire newspaper is definitely something I'm proud of and work really hard doing. I think professionally I see myself maybe doing something with layout design or print design. My practicum project is a cookbook. All of the recipes in the cookbook are from my grandfather's restaurant that he owned, and growing up my family kind of always used those recipes and for family gatherings and things, so I kind of grew up eating all of the recipes that are in this cookbook, so it kind of means a lot to me. Putting together this cookbook, I not only learned a lot about my family, but also the different produce that goes into making these recipes and entrees. I learned more about cheeses and different kind of vegetables and things that I had no idea that went into these different dishes. Realizing that these recipes have kind of been around and in my family for, I don't know, 50 years now or so, I kind of feel closer to my family and my grandfather, kind of following in his footsteps, putting together an entire cookbook of what he created for my family. So the cookbook starts out with kind of different salads that my grandfather had in his restaurant, and then it goes into entrees from pastas, chicken dishes, meats, and then goes into a couple dessert recipes, Italian cannoli, some simple chocolate chip cookie recipes, and some tiramisu. And then in the end, there is a bunch of pictures, old family pictures, recent family pictures that kind of ties it all together. I'm from Indiana, and I came to Boston to go to school, and it's definitely been kind of hard being away from my family, but I knew I wanted to be in a big city with a lot of opportunities, and I definitely know that I made the right decision. You get involved in not just things in your classes or at the school, but also with different companies in Boston, in the area, which is really awesome. So you get that outer experience than just classroom experience. I love graphic design because it's a great way to be creative, and just having this visual content out there in the world for people to see, knowing that you created it, is something that's very rewarding.
I started doing art when I was younger because my mom went to school to be a graphic designer, actually. So she always pushed me to really design, as well as my dad too. And then in high school, I had a teacher, Mr. Connor, who really had a love for graphic design, who taught me to have the same love for it. He even had me considering being a high school graphic design teacher at one point. The design that I find myself the most interested in is usually print or publication design. I've always liked the fact that I can hold something that I make. I do like doing stuff digitally as well, but I prefer to have something printed. I started out my freshman year joining Polished. Polished is a magazine that focuses on the culture and fashion of Boston, and we work with the fashion department and the graphic design department to complete the whole magazine. My junior year, I became the associate art director and started to help the art director more and take a leadership role. And now my senior year, I'm the art director and put together the whole magazine and combine everyone's layouts and type to make sure that it's one cohesive look. What we did was we took everyone's layouts and we printed them out and had them all laid out next to each other so we could see exactly how it would flow. Each person wrote their own edits on it for text, for design. The managing editor, the creative director, and I just got people's feedback on what they think the magazine is looking like and what their feel of it was. My practicum project is entitled Runway. Being involved in Polished, I was excited to have my own creative control and my own freedom to do whatever I want based on my own design biases. So I wanted to create a design that spoke to people in a very clear way. In my magazine, I have 4 different sections. The first section is food, the next section is people, and the third section is fashion, and then the fourth section is more art-based. So that's how I organize the structure of the magazine. I've always been drawn to geometric shapes, whether that be a triangle or a square or a rectangle. So my magazine's very geometric, and to have full control as to where this picture is going and where the font is going with it was a nice transition for me to be able to have that full artistic control. My experience at Lasell has been one of the greatest experiences of my whole life. I've learned so much about myself and my design skills, and I've grown a lot as a designer. I've been able to become a leader, and I would never have expected that of myself my freshman year. That involvement was crucial to my having a job right after college, so it was an easy transition for me to go right into the workforce.
When I was younger, I was really into art. I really liked coloring and drawing things, but I had an incident in first grade that kind of turned me off of design and art and things like that up until about senior year of high school. Over that period of time when I wasn't into art, I was really into reading. I developed really good vocabulary and word skills, so I wanted to do something that would allow me to utilize both of my interests. So I figured graphic design would be a really good avenue for that. My senior practicum project is branding the Lasell College chorus. I've been a member of the chorus ever since I got to Lasell. I made wonderful friends there over the years. I've learned so much about myself vocally and musically than I ever really thought I knew. And I wanted to give back to them in some way, shape, or form. So I figured, well, they don't really have much of an identity on campus. Not too many people know about them or what they do or the shows that they put on. So I figured a good way to get the message out would be to give them a clear brand, to advertise them on campus, to get people in the know about what they are. So my project is giving the chorus a clear, distinct logo, making up poster advertisements to hang around the school, making up CD cases that I will use to house the CDs of the songs that we will be singing this semester, and making them up on a website so they can display information about themselves and potentially any tour dates or locations if they do have a plan to do that. I feel like this is my way of saying thank you for everything that you've done. I wanted to give back to you, and I felt like this was the best way to go about doing that. It's been great. I mean, I certainly love the class of people that I'm with. They're some of my best friends on campus, in my opinion. And I feel like we really complement each other because we all have different strengths and weaknesses that work well with each other. So I feel like when we all come together and brainstorm ideas, it's a really powerful creative process. I know that we're never really gonna forget each other, either because we've made so many memories or we're gonna keep in touch in social media, but at the same time, it's not going to be the same as being able to walk into a class and see them all again like I have been doing for the last 4 years. So I'm definitely going to miss them.
Yeah, I started drawing comics when I was young because I would try to find things to do when I would be by myself because I felt like an outsider when I was growing up. I started drawing comics actually because my dad gave me an X-Men Bible thing where it's like a compilation of all the first X-Men comics, and that inspired me a lot. So I was like, oh, I want to make stuff like that. So then I made this funny comic called Hairballs. You throw fireballs as bad guys, and that's my first drawings and stuff like that. Coming out of high school, I knew that I wanted to do something to do with art, and at the time I wanted to be able to create storyboarding in comics. That's what I really enjoyed when I was a kid. Eventually I turned to graphic design because professionally I'd rather design things for other people. One of my old professors told me a great quote, which was, there should be a difference between what you provide for other people and what you draw for your own time. My senior practicum project is a graphic novel that's set up like a picture book. It's going to be called RoboGamma, which is, I like that name because it's like powerful, you know? It's robot and gamma mean like gamma radiation, and I'm like, that would be a cool name for a book. The story is about a little robot guy who goes through crazy adventures and through a virtual world, and he finds his way out, and he has his, he meets his creator and fights him, and that's all I'll say until someone can read it on their own. When I think of what happens in my stories, naturally I think of it as a picture, so I did that. Rather than making it so that I planned out panels for a comic page, I just did it like right out of my head. So that it was less planning for panels and more of creating the solid imagery in my head as it came to me. As soon as I'm done doing college, I'll be working on my own projects and creating my brand. I have like this whole entire idea for music and stuff. Like I'm gonna have my own website where I can make it so that people can listen to my music and look at my comics and buy whatever you need. And I'll just be nonstop promoting myself and creating a brand persona for myself as well. A real dream of mine is to be like, to have some kind of entrepreneurship, you know, but outside of that, I'm also going to be looking for internships and finding a stable job, obviously, so I can provide for my solo independent work. Art is about the ability to create, and I believe it's a blessing for us to be able to create. The true joy in my life is creating things.
It wasn't until like high school that I took a course in graphic design and I started to like see that that's the path I wanted to take in college. And I started in college actually doing stuff with it and I fell in love with it. When I started here in college, like my freshman year, like my first class, I had no sense of like composition, like I didn't know anything about it. What you see now, like in my capstone, is really like who I've become in this past like 4 years as a designer. If you had me do this 4 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to at all. My practicum project is Williams, which is a self-branded candy company. I have experience working with a candy company. For my internship, I worked at a PR agency in Boston, and one of their clients was a candy company. I really liked their fun aesthetic and I really enjoyed working with them, so I tried to carry it through for my capstone. Williams is a candy that is targeted at all kinds of audiences, whether they're young or old. They carry a different variety of products such as hard candy. I have different flavors of it. I have mint, lemon, strawberry, and blueberry. I have lollipops. It's very colorful, it's very vibrant. It's something that if you saw on the shelf of the store, you would recognize immediately. It has this kind of like carnival look to it, very geometrical, but also kind of like fun and fluid graphics that anybody could look at and kind of smile when you see it. The things that I've liked the most about the graphic design program here at Lasell are how me and my classmates have kind of become throughout these 4 years kind of a family, given that we have all our classes together and we help each other out, so we all become very close. But also just the growth I've seen myself as a person, just kind of how I came here to Lasell with literally zero experience, and next thing you know, I'm doing graphics for companies such as Cumberland Farms and Flooring America, Flooring Canada. My graphics are being published in Facebook pages with hundreds of thousands of followers. Just the growth as a person is just amazing. I really feel like I've gained a lot and grown a lot as a person due to the graphic design program.
So I first started drawing and everything when I was young. It started in elementary school and then developed in middle school. In high school, I actually got to take graphic design classes. I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I've always been a fan of being hands-on, not just being on the computer, and I got the chance to actually be a part of the ceramics course here at Lasell, and it's been pretty inspirational. I like that anything can happen with clay. Like on the pottery wheel, you could be working and going along, and then all of a sudden it'll flop right in your hands. With clay, you don't get full control over what happens. Like you can have a full grasp of what you want it to look like, but most of the time that's not how it comes out, which is perfectly fine. So for my practicum, I chose to make up a tea shop, which is called Short and Stout. I decided to do some print work as well as a website, and I decided to get off the computer a little bit and do some screen printing. So for the print aspect, I did the postcard, business card. I did some posters and a flyer. And then for off the computer, I chose to do screen printing, and for that, I'm going to be screen printing a tablecloth and some napkins. I really like tea, so when we started talking about what we wanted to do for our practicum, it just kind of popped into my mind and it just took off from there. I could really see myself owning a tea shop. So when all this was floating around in my mind before we even started, I could see the little boutique and the setup of the atmosphere, so that kind of helped me design everything that I needed to for the project. The name for my practicum project comes from the Little Teapot song.
I was in my criminal justice class last semester, and I was thinking about what I needed to name my practicum, and the song just kind of popped into my head, and I was like, that would be pretty cute. After graduation, I am taking off to North Carolina to Elon University to go to grad school for their iMedia program. It's a year-long program, so I'd end up with my master's, which is pretty awesome. I'm thankful for all that I've learned here at Lasell, and I'm really excited to put everything that I've learned here to work.
Design, I've probably been doing it since about the age of 8. And that's when I started really actually doing things for like other people. It's the first time I got Photoshop, so it really kind of opened the world of like photo manipulation, things like that to me. I actually used to go on internet forums and go to like the design threads where people would ask for little avatars or signatures, and I would just like design them for them. No one had any idea that I was 8 years old. Throughout high school, I originally was going towards the field of graphic design about freshman year, and then towards the end I switched to computer engineering. The whole year, freshman year of college, that's where I was. I was at Wentworth doing computer engineering. And then I actually looked back on an essay that I wrote freshman year of high school, which said that in the future I hope that I can be a graphic designer or an artist. So I kind of reevaluated where I was going. My practicum project is called Beggar. It's what some would consider a lifestyle brand, something like Johnny Cupcakes, things like that. For my designs for Beggar, I wanted to do more of an illustrative piece. So I was doing some research on like available topics of like maybe mythical creatures or different like fables that have demons in them. So I did some more research and I found the 7 Princes of Hell. So I decided to take 3 of them and I decided to design them how I saw them in my mind based on other pictures that I'd seen from past drawings that people had done other interpretations. And that's kind of where I got to the final 3 designs for my practicum. For this project, there will be 4 t-shirt designs. So t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, stickers, posters, advertising, and also certain handouts with some backstory on the actual, I guess you could call them characters or illustrations that are in the piece. After graduation, I hope that I can take at least the idea of the practicum and push it further. Realistically, even if I can just get a job that has to do with printmaking or shirt design, things like that, that would be fantastic. I think graphic design is important because it's kind of, for me, a self-expression that is hard to get anywhere else. I would say it's like music to some people. You play music, you can express how you feel through that music. Design to me is like that. It's kind of just like a way to express my emotions.
I started realizing I was into art when I was maybe like 8 years old. My dad was into art when he was in high school, and he went to the Art Institute in New Mexico for 2 years before he dropped out, and he just had some pretty amazing pieces of work lying around the house. In high school, I didn't take an art class until my senior year, but I was still drawing on the side, and I was always making my own band t-shirts out of stencils because I couldn't afford to buy my own. And since then, I've been making my own t-shirts, making stencils, and just doing all I can with what I can think of. I play music. I've been playing drums since I was 9 years old, and I've been skateboarding since I was also like 8 years old, and that's been the biggest creative outlet I've ever had, and has opened my eyes to a world of art that I never would have known unless I skateboarded. The one thing in my life that's been consistent since I've been young has been skateboarding. It's like one of the few things that I've stuck with since I was a young age up until now that I haven't given up on or just lost interest in. I want to be surrounded by it. I realized at a young age I wasn't going to be a pro skateboarder, so I tried to choose a craft that would keep me surrounded by skateboarding in my future. And that craft being design and art, because that is a way of expressing myself. There's a huge design culture around skateboarding. My practicum project, it's called Dead Bent, and it's supposed to be like a skateboarding lifestyle brand. I'll make apparel, t-shirts, I'll make soft goods for skateboards with like the grip tape, stickers, patches, pins. all other sorts of things that will revolve around skateboarding and my designs. Dead bent to me, it's kind of like going all in, like in skateboarding. People do some of the craziest things that other people would think, oh, you're gonna die doing that. And it's, for a skateboarder, it's I'm gonna do this, I'm bent on doing this, I don't care if I die. My style has always been very punk inspired. I've always been into punk rock and hardcore and other forms of that sort of subculture. And the designs are darker, but with comical twist to it, like sort of cartoony, but it's still like skulls and a lot of dark colors and very punk rock looking. What I want to do with my design skills in the future is work for skateboard companies or own my own skateboard company. For me, creative expression, whether it's art, design, music, or skateboarding, it's the only things I can think about doing most of the time. It's not about wanting to do it, it's about needing to do it. Needing to keep these things in my life and needing to be surrounded by creative expression and creative people.
So I've been doing design ever since I was very young. Art's just like one of the only things that I feel I can like completely like engage myself into, and I like how I can create artwork for other people that pleases them, but then I also like how I can create artwork for myself that I like as well and shows my own personal style. I have like a very alternative style, and I like a lot of like punk rock stuff, and I love tattoos and piercings, but then when it comes to my art, I feel like it's so different than that style. Like for my senior practicum, I did a children's book, and that's another thing that interests me. Like I like creating things that make other people happy. So like for me, creating a kid's book felt awesome because I feel like that's something that like little kids would absolutely love, and then that makes me happy. So for my senior practicum, I wrote a book called What Is My Name, and it was inspired by my cat Luna. The idea for the book actually came very easy. It wasn't even something I had to think about. It's almost like the story was in the back of my mind for so long that I finally like just got it on paper. And once I had the story down, the illustrating part was very fun for me. Basing it off my cat was cool, just to make her into a cartoon character. So the main character, whose name is Madison, she does resemble me, and the name for her came up, Madison's my sister's middle name. And I kind of wanted her to look like me just because I liked the idea of me being in the story with my cat. Well, I've always loved animals. Pretty much any animal I see, I just like swoon over, and I'm just like, oh my God, so cute. I feel like animals are very soothing, so stories about them I find are kind of soothing too, having like a character that's a cat. I think because it's a different interaction than if you're, hanging out with another person. Animals can't talk back to you, they can't say anything, they're just there. They're there for you to hold and pet and cuddle with, whatever you want to do. It's like having like a little buddy. I realized after doing my senior project on a children's book and creating one that it's something I actually really enjoyed doing. And I think in the future it would be something I'd also want to do more of and get more experience in. I'm very happy with it. I love the way it was printed. I think the colors are great. They're very bright, vibrant, which was the look I was going for. I feel that at this point I have learned so much more than I did before I came here. I mean, it's like night and day. Like I feel like before I came here I really did not know anything. At this point I feel like I would be comfortable enough to compete for the jobs that I really would ideally like to have. So ultimately in the future I just want to create work that will make other people happy, like they can just have like the sense of happiness from seeing the work I'm doing for them. I think the most rewarding thing at the end of the day is being able to make someone else happy with the stuff that you can create.
I started taking art lessons when I was age 9. My elementary school art teacher asked my mom if she could sign me up for art lessons. I would go to her house for private lessons, and she taught me how to paint, draw. It was kind of like my comfort place where it wasn't as competitive because my 3 sisters have always played sports and I never really was as competitive as them, so it was my way of finding something that I could just do my best in. There was no winning or losing, it was just my personal best. I'm most inspired by the art movement of Art Nouveau. Artists from this time always use organic plant life and curvy lines and ornate designs as their inspiration, and that's something I really relate to because I have such a love for nature. I love being outdoors. I really enjoy the organic complexity of nature and how it just unpredictably changes and grows. I gain most positivity, I feel, when I'm outdoors, and that's something that I'm trying to relate to my senior practicum. My senior practicum project is the redesign and rebranding of Bonnaroo 2016 Arts and Music Festival. The festival is in Manchester, Tennessee. It's a 4-day festival in the middle of June. This summer, 2016, it's going to be their 15th anniversary, so they have this whole idea of celebrating 15 years of magic. I thought that maybe this would be my chance to recreate the logo for 2016 as a way of showing my appreciation and thanks for such a great experience. Bonnaroo is an arts festival as well as music. I thought that I would incorporate my style of art using outdoor nature as a theme because Bonnaroo is, of course, outdoors and has such a natural setting, and I think it's the perfect blend of music and art together. So the redesign I tried to make represents the music, the art, the nature, and radiating positivity. Art has definitely been my motivation throughout my entire life. I've always loved putting anything together design related. I've always felt like I've had like a natural flair for it. I love art and design.
When I was younger, I always liked to draw, but as I became older, I found more interest in photography. In high school, I actually took a photography class 3 times without credit, just got credit once. Even after graduating high school, I didn't know that I wanted to do graphic design. I didn't really think of art as an option for a career until I came to Lasell. But after taking a few graphic design classes, I realized that I was very interested in digital art and working on the computer as opposed to drawing. I've definitely appreciated everything that I've learned here at Lasell over the past 4 years, but my biggest accomplishment, I think, at Lasell was winning first place in a student travel poster contest held by a gallery in Boston. It started off as just an assignment for a class, but I tried really hard and it ended up paying off and I won first prize. If I'm ever stuck, whether it be that I can't come up with an idea or I'm looking for a typeface that I haven't found yet, I just turn to everyday life and look around and find something that works and maybe try to change it and work that into what I'm doing. Over the past 4 years, I've definitely evolved more towards branding. I really enjoy the entire process from logo design to letterheads and websites and everything of that nature. My practicum project is crown design, and I came up with this project when trying to figure out what I really enjoyed doing most, so I decided to brand my own graphic design company. I recently tried pushing myself to creating almost like an icon a day, whether it was a logo or a badge or just some sort of small image, and one of them ended up being a crown, and I started playing with different designs of crowns, as well as the word crown. I played around with the lettering and the spelling and really liked how crown design sounded, so I suppose the brand sort of started there. For my project, I created business cards for each team member of the graphic design team. I created a website as well as a poster and a one-sheet describing what we do at Crown Design. My graphic design style has definitely changed over the past 4 years. After taking the graphic design history class here at Lasell, I realized that a lot of my influence come from modern Swiss design. From there, I've realized my design has gotten very industrial and minimal, and I really like where my design's going.